The Throne of Heaven, Part the First, the Night of the Conclave. The night fell upon Rome like a crown of thunder. Lightning tore the sky above St. Peter's, and the bells began to toll, slow, solemn, endless, calling men not to glory, but to judgment. The rain descended in waves, washing marble saints with tears of heaven. In the distance, the Vatican loomed like a sleeping titan beneath the storm. Inside the Sistine Chapel, the air was thick with incense and fear. Hundreds of candles trembled, their light breaking against the painted faces of angels. Each step echoed, a slow procession of souls weighed by centuries of sin. The cardinals gathered in silence, crimson robes flowing like rivers of blood. No laughter, no breath, only the murmur of prayer and thunder beyond the stone. At the center of the marble table rested a single letter, sealed with red wax and marked by a phrase that no one dared to utter aloud. Non eliget homo, sed Deus. It is not man who chooses, but God. Young Cardinal Lorenzo stared at it, his reflection shimmering in the wax. He turned his gaze upward, to Michelangelo's ceiling, to that divine hand that almost but never quite touched man. "Will he reach for us tonight?" he whispered. The wind howled through the chapel, extinguishing half the candles with one breath of darkness. Shadows danced upon the faces of the saints. Then came the voice of Cardinal Matteo, the blind one. "A blind man once led a man who could see," he said softly. Both were lost, until they stopped searching for the road and began searching for the light. No one spoke. The rain quieted, as though heaven itself waited for the answer. From the dome above, a single white dove descended through the smoke. Its feathers drifted slowly, weightless, golden in the candlelight. One fell upon Lorenzo's shoulder. He froze, eyes widening, and for an instant, a warm radiance glowed upon his face. Not of fire, but of something holy. "A sign," whispered one of the priests. "He has been chosen." The marble floor trembled. The candles bent toward an invisible breath. The statues of saints seemed to watch in silence. The air thickened, heavy with something unseen, yet alive. And then, the great iron doors shut with a sound like thunder. Lorenzo looked once more at the last candle still burning before the crucifix. The flame flickered, then steadied, unwavering, defiant, and so it began. The night not chosen by men, but written by the breath of God. As the bells tolled one final time over the sleeping city, heaven watched and waited. The Throne of Heaven, Part 2, The Silence of God. Dawn came, pale and cold, bleeding through the stained glass like the last breath of a dying saint. The storm had passed, yet inside the chapel the air still trembled, as though thunder had chosen to stay. The cardinals sat in a perfect circle beneath the painted heavens. Their faces were carved by sleeplessness and doubt. The floor still glistened with the wax of candles burned through the night. Cardinal Lorenzo's eyes wandered across the room to the faces of men sworn to faith, yet chained by fear. He whispered almost to himself, "We pray for his voice." But what if he has already spoken, and we were too afraid to listen? Matteo, the blind cardinal, lifted his head slightly. "The Lord speaks not to the loud," he murmured, "but to those who kneel in silence." Smoke drifted lazily toward the fresco of the Last Judgment, curling around the angels and the damned alike. The sacred air felt heavier than stone. Then a voice broke the stillness, stern, commanding, human. "We do not need miracles," said Cardinal Carlo. "We need a leader." His words struck like steel. A dozen heads turned. The sound of a quill scratching against parchment followed, dry, deliberate. One by one, the cardinals began to write names on their slips of paper, the first vote of the conclave. The ink glistened under the golden light, fragile, uncertain, eternal. But as the final name was written, a sudden gust of wind swept through the chapel. Candles flickered violently, one shattered, spilling wax like blood upon the marble floor. Lorenzo stared at the broken flame. "Even light," he whispered. bleeds when faith is cut. Outside, thunder rumbled again, distant like a memory. And from the high dome above, a single drop of water fell, landing upon the sacred table, perfectly between the ballots. Matteo turned his blind eyes toward the sound. "That," he said softly, "is not rain." Silence fell again, deep, divine, unbroken. Every man in the room could feel it. The voice of God had returned, but it spoke now through silence. The Throne of Heaven, Part 3, the 13th Vote. The bells of St. Peter's tolled noon, but no light entered the chapel. Thick clouds strangled the sun, leaving the Vatican bathed in a dim, living twilight. The conclave sat in tense silence. The air itself seemed afraid to move. At the altar stood the ancient wooden ballot box, scarred by time, heavy with centuries of judgment. Cardinal Carlo's hand shook as he began to count. 1, 2, 3. His voice echoed, steady at first, but each number grew quieter, weaker. 12, he whispered, and froze. A murmur rippled through the chamber. "There are only 12 of us," someone said. Yet inside the box lay a 13th ballot. Carlo reached for it. The parchment shimmered faintly in the candlelight, too bright, too alive. When he unfolded it, a golden light bled across the marble floor. The ink was not black, but radiant, like sunlight trapped in words. It read, "Ego sum qui sum, I am who I am." A shock of wind swept through the chapel, extinguishing half the candles in a single breath. The frescoed angels above seemed to twist and turn, their painted wings flickering in motion. Thunder rolled across the dome, deep as the voice of creation. Lorenzo rose from his seat. "This is no vote," he said, trembling. "This is a verdict." His eyes darted toward Matteo, the blind cardinal. Matteo's face was wet with tears, his sightless eyes glowing faintly. "He is here," he whispered. "In the fire, in the silence, in us." Then, the marble floor cracked with a violent tremor. Dust rained down from Michelangelo's ceiling. The golden ballot rose slowly from Carlo's hands, suspended in the air by invisible force. A voice, vast, unearthly, echoed from everywhere and nowhere. "You have built thrones for yourselves, but none for me." The words struck their hearts like thunder. Carlo fell to his knees. "Forgive us, Lord," he cried. Lorenzo stood motionless, eyes fixed on the floating light. "If none are worthy," he whispered, "then let me bear it." A beam of pure light burst through the cracked dome, striking Lorenzo's chest. The room filled with divine brilliance, a radiance too holy to behold. His robes rippled in the wind. His voice trembled like breaking glass. "I am not the one," he gasped, "but I will not turn away." The light wrapped around him like fire. For one brief moment, the figures of saints carved in marble bowed their heads. Matteo smiled through his tears. "Now I see," he murmured, and vanished into the light. The glow faded. The chapel fell silent again. Only a single candle survived, burning bright before the crucifix. Lorenzo knelt, trembling, bathed in shadow. On the marble before him lay the ashes of the 13th ballot, forming the shape of a cross, and from the darkness the voice returned, soft, infinite, tender. "Faith is not the light that shines, but the courage to hold it in the storm." The flame flickered once, then steadied, and for the first time in centuries the walls of the Sistine Chapel felt alive, as though God himself had breathed again. The Throne of Heaven, Part 4, the Ascension of Silence. Dawn broke over Rome, soft and golden. The storm had gone, yet the city felt changed, hushed, as if listening for something sacred. From the Vatican's roof, a wisp of golden smoke rose into the sky, vanishing into light. Inside the Sistine Chapel, silence ruled. The cardinals knelt among fallen candles and drifting ash. The air still shimmered faintly, like the breath of angels not yet gone. At the center, Cardinal Lorenzo remained on his knees. His robes were torn, His eyes glowed faintly with reflected fire. Before him, the ashes of the 13th ballot still formed a glowing cross. Cardinal Carlo whispered, "What have we seen?" Lorenzo looked up, weary, transformed. "We did not see God," he said quietly. "We saw what happens when men finally listen." The wind stirred through the chapel, gentle now, carrying a warmth that rekindled a few candles. Their small flames danced again, alive. Matteo's cane rested near the altar, his body gone, but his presence lingering like a prayer unfinished. Lorenzo lifted it and placed it upon the sacred table. "He was blind," he murmured, "but he saw farther than any of us." The great doors of the chapel opened on their own, flooding the marble with sunlight. Dust turned to gold in the beam, like countless tiny souls ascending. Lorenzo rose and walked toward the light. Each step echoed softly, steady and certain. A white dove descended from the dome, circling him once before soaring into the sky. The cardinals watched as he disappeared into the brilliance. No one spoke. No one needed to. On the altar, a single candle remained burning, unwavering. And from beyond the silence, a voice whispered, "I was never gone." The bells of St. Peter's rang again, clear, pure, eternal. Rome breathed. Heaven waited, and for one timeless moment, the earth felt holy again. The end. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel to continue watching interesting video stories.